is up? Oh, it has been a hot darn minute since I've been behind this camera on this bike in this shitty town. Woo, but it feels good. Feels good. I'm keen just to throw a little something together, tell a bit of a story about where I've been the last like year since I think I've posted a video. I've been shitty, I know, I'm sorry. But basically what happened, man, was a year ago, like almost to the week a year ago, it was like the 20-something of March last year. I managed to herniate a spinal disc in my back. I herniated my L5-S1 vertebrae disc, and that really sort of interrupted my life quite a bit. Now around that time, I was working like permanent part-time. I was working about 5 to 6 days a week usually, all nights, and then whenever I had a few days off, I would just jump on the motorcycle and take a little trip up to the coast. And it was really good. I was really happy with where I was in life at that point. I did kind of want more. I kind of wanted to do more with myself. So at this point, I'd like fully committed to this idea of quitting my job and then just like working up with my fitness and my health, and then joining the Navy. So I was 2 weeks off applying for the Navy at this point when I injured my back, and I couldn't do it anymore, and in fact I couldn't really do anything anymore. It really stripped away all of my independence, which was really tough for me because I'm like a super independent person, and so in injuring my back in such a severe way, I couldn't work anymore. All sort of hopes of joining the Navy were sort of, you know, off the table for the moment. Yeah, I had to start up with some pretty intense physiotherapy. To try and sort of correct these issues with my back, but that ended up not working at all, really. So as a last resort, sort of a last option, I ended up getting spinal surgery, and I did that on the 28th of June last year. I got my back operated on. Yeah, they basically went in there, drilled out part of my vertebrae, and then sort of like sliced out a bit of this disc that was like, it was pushing out, and it was like, I'll throw some pictures up on the screen. It was it was pretty weird to look at, but basically that big old white thing going down vertically is my spinal cord. The big blobby squishy thing, that's like where the disc had sort of burst out of my spine and was compressing my spinal cord, and that was so incredibly painful. Like, you cannot imagine, like, unless you've had that injury, you've got no idea what kind of pain that causes. It really interrupts your life, and it sort of takes all of your independence away, and you have to rely on other people for a lot of things. Like, I could not tie my own shoes for a very long time, and from going from somebody who worked all the time and worked hard to support myself, and from going to like working full-time and then traveling heaps, it was a really hard adjustment to go from that to not being able to put on shoes by myself. So I got this surgery done, and after like initially recovering from somebody digging around your back, I went back to work, because at that point I hadn't worked for about 6 months or more. My money was dried out pretty much. I had none of my savings left. I had to borrow money to continue to pay my bills, and so like I wouldn't have my bike taken away, like repossessed, because I still owe some finance left on this. It's almost done, but thankfully I lived with my parents, who don't charge me rent, which is absolutely fantastic. But you know, between doing physio and a few different like recovery programs and stuff. I couldn't hack it without money, so I went back to work, and I lasted maybe like 3 weeks back at work before I had to I had to throw in the towel. I couldn't do it. It was definitely way too soon after having surgery to be back at work. Like, I wasn't even doing that many hours. I was doing less than 10 hours a week. It would usually be like 7 hours or something like that, spread across the week, and I just couldn't do it. It was draining me. It hurt my back. I felt it just exhausted me so much. It was really draining. That was having a big impact on my recovery. So I decided, I was like, look, as much as I want to get back into work and sort of get back to my normal life, I can't do that at this point. And if I force myself to do it, then it's going to really like negatively impact my recovery. And later on in life, I'm going to have so many issues with my back. I'm already like guaranteed quite a few issues when I'm older with my back. Like, I'm 100% going to get arthritis in my back. Like, that's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And, you know, there's a few other things that sort of go along with that. That, like, it's going to happen. But the effort I put into my recovery now is really going to sort of negate a decent amount of that later on. I sort of got to that point where I was like, I can't be back at work and be focused on taking care of myself. I went on Centrelink, so I applied for Centrelink and got some of that sweet government cash, which it helps so much. It's unbelievable the amount of stress I was having because of my financial issues. I'm not getting much from Centrelink, but it is enough to pay my bills and feed me, which is all I really need. And it's also going towards like my physiotherapy and my recovery programs, which are not cheap either. So yeah, any sort of like spare money I have, it all goes into my recovery programs and stuff like that. But it is really great to have that sort of like mental weight off my shoulders when I was worrying about money all the time. It hurt my feelings. I had many sad feelings, and that was you know, that was hard. The whole thing's been a really tough experience. I'm definitely feeling a bit more positive now because, you know, the financial stress is less than it was before. I'm not worrying about work. All the free time I have is, you know, I'm working to put it into myself and get much better. But it is a long process, and I have no idea how long I have left before I sort of feel back to 100%. It's not just problems with my back and my back pain. A lot of it's mental as well. A lot of it is mental recovery. It definitely took a big toll, and that's still very prevalent. And that's something I still really struggle with. Another thing I've been really struggling with is medication. I am on a lot of painkillers still. It's not that I'm constantly in pain, it's just I still get a lot of pain if I sort of push myself too far physically, or it doesn't even have to be that. It can be really small things that can flare up my back at the moment while I'm still recovering. Like the other day, I vacuumed underneath my bed, and so I had to be like low to the ground and sort of like, you know, pushing the vacuum underneath my bed. And I thought that would have been fine. I didn't really think I'd have any issues with that. But it totally fucked up my back. For like a good few days, it fucked up my back. You know, over the course of initially injuring my back, to going through physiotherapy, to having surgery, to now, I've been on and off so many different medications, and the side effects, man, they can be so fucking brutal. One of the medications I was on really affected my short and long-term memory, to the point where like I stopped being able to remember things that would happen. Like if I had breakfast one day, I wouldn't remember what I had for breakfast like 20 minutes later. And that can be really tough. You know, when I was hanging out with my friends, first of all, I'd always forget if we made plans. And then, like, even while we were hanging out and we were talking about, you know, something that happened last week, they'll be like, oh, do you remember when blah blah blah? And I'd be like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it was just, it turned into such a surreal experience at a lot of times, because they, you know, would be reminiscing about old times, and I'd actually lost those memories. I have no fucking clue how. I'm not a brain doctor, but a lot of these times they'd be talking about something that happened like last week, and I would have no recollection of that at all, and that was really tough. And another one of them gave me like night terrors, nightmares. I don't know if I don't really know the proper classification of a night terror as opposed to a nightmare, but they were pretty much just really, really bad dreams. Like, they'd be things that were like, they'd be the kind of dreams where you'd feel like your subconscious knew exactly how to hurt you and like really fucking hurt your feelings. It's like the biggest dick ever, because it knew exactly what sort of things to show you in your mind that would just totally destroy you emotionally. And that was happening like once every few days. Well, not even once. It would be, you'd have like a string of these dreams, and every time I'd wake up like completely drenched in sweat and just like completely devastated by these dreams. And that really fucks you up as well. Sleep's really important, and like, I worked all night shifts, so, you know, my sleep pattern wasn't exactly healthy to begin with. I want to go into way more detail about just what all these medications sort of does to you. So I feel like that's a really big thing that people sort of don't think about when somebody injures themselves like this. You know, it's like you've got to choose between, do you want to go about your day sort of pain-free and being able to do things like go hang out with friends, or take the dog out for a walk, or, you know, take a shower without being in pain, or tie your own shoelaces? Do you want to be able to do this stuff? And if you do, then you've got to take these medications, and these medications, you know, they'll screw with your mental health, they'll make you suicidal, they will constipate you so you don't shit for like 3 weeks at a time, they'll completely destroy your short and long-term memory, they'll make you depressed, they'll stop your penis from working properly. That was tricky to deal with. Didn't think I'd have to worry about that until I was like 80 years old, but, you know, 22-year-olds with erectile dysfunction, that was a thing that happened. So it's really hard to balance, like, when to use these drugs to allow you to function fairly normally, and when to not use them because you're terrified of all the side effects. This is one of the bigger things that I'm currently dealing with, is all the side effects of all the medication that I still have to take. So, you know, when I initially injured myself, I would be on these medications daily. Now I just take the medications sort of when I need them. So I'm taking them less frequently, but that in itself has its own trouble. Say, you know, when I vacuumed underneath my bed and managed to hurt my back, I took my medication so that it didn't hurt as much and I could, you know, sleep and stuff. I took them for a few days, kept sort of doing my physiotherapy exercises. Then after a few days, you know, my back felt fine without needing medication, so I stopped taking the medication. And then after that, you know, my body had sort of gotten used to having these drugs in my system, and then I went through withdrawal, and that made me sick. And then I took some anti-nausea stuff, and that upset my tummy and gave me diarrhea. So it's like, it's a constant balancing act, and it can be really shitty to deal with. Anyway, I just took the long way around the car park because I'm kind of ranting about this stuff. I'm gonna park up and I'll see you guys around. You know, I want to get back into making videos and, you know, stuff like this, because it gives me something to do, because I am so bored. I pretty much play video games a lot and then watch a lot of TV. I do really miss going to work because I always had something to do. It also made me money. I really miss having money. But yeah, that's it from me today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.